Hey, think you can do that. Morning, Rambling Geek. Oh, afternoon now. You're on the home stretch. Oh, okay. Morning, Warline. Morning, Rambling Geek. Sorry. I was contemplating not turning the camera on today, but I realized that the camera actually helps people when I'm communicating, especially my more rambling moments or waffling moments, I suppose. Long weekend headache. Okay. So over the weekend, we upgraded the computer. We put a bigger processor in this thing, so now it has a little bit more oomph to it. So we went from a 816 to a 1632. So that's going to give me a little bit more room to play with. Sons, good morning. How are you doing? So on Friday, we were trying to look at the the migration worker that allows us to set up, because it's getting stuck. So it won't start the website because the migration service is running, right? Because we've said wait for completion of migration service. Exhausted? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. May your week be a relaxing one. And Friday night, hello. How's it going? So we wait for completion of migration service before we even try and start web, but the migration service is not completing. However, the migrations have happened and the database is seeded. So is it failing is the question. Is it throwing any errors that can give us any insights into why it's doing this? Or is it something to do with the nature of this migration stuff? I haven't used these execution strategies before, so these are pretty new to me. And then call at work and got a ton of tickets come through, so just had to fix them. Oh. Oof. So our migration failed executing select. So it's erroring. So maybe what we need to do is just wipe out the if we wipe out the database. It sounds like Monday already. Well, the migrations history is there, but let's wipe out the database. Let's see if how do we do this? I've never used this tool before, so this is going to be interesting. Activity query rows. Let's see, can I go? So do that. Oh, there we go, mate. Okay, delete table. Let's just delete the table. Yeah, delete the table. Other tables depend on it. Oh, I forgot because we're using migrations. We're going to get foreign keys. Delete the table. Delete the table. You just got to delete in the right order. Okay, so now if we stop running and rerun. We'll see if this makes any difference. I just want to see if it will just re-establish the database if it was an early startup problem that I caused it with. I'm not sure what your role is, but I work as an architect lead, so I don't work on actual features. A lot of diagrams, documents, POC, and new scalability features. Pod support is one of the things that come through with that too. Yeah. I don't often get the support part. Okay, so that's still erroring. Migration failed executing command. So is this a problem of the database doesn't exist, or is this a problem of so it recreates it all. It creates all the data. It creates the migration. So why is it getting stuck? Oh. What do you mean? I see snake case, the DB name, etc. Like take a mulligan on the weekend. Yeah, yeah. I was okay with the weekend. The weekend I got a lot of Liquid Sky stuff done. So yeah, I'd like to take a rewind though. Why do you mix cases? Oh, you mean on the database there? Learning where it goes, where it touches by just making sure it stands out, I suppose. That's as far as I know, there's no standard on that. I wanted to see. So that seems to create that database there. It's also the connection string, as far as I'm aware. So understanding where it lives can be changed. There's no harm. But that's not the problem. The problem is, why is it not able to do this? So if we do query that, is it quoting everything? Right, that works. Well, it's doing the migration. That's the thing. The migration service is running, and it's meant to only create the database if it doesn't exist, and then run the migrations. It seems to run the migrations, everything's there, but then fails executing that query, which, as far as I can tell, runs just fine. Can I disconnect? Can't delete a database from in here, can you? History, activity, connection. Well, see if the table exists. Yeah, they exist. That's what I'm querying here, right? So it's done the migrations, right? It's run the migrations. I just don't know why it's getting stuck there now. It's as if it's trying to run the migration again. And can't get the query to determine whether it needs to run it. right? Uh, I'm just looking to see if there's anything that's why is it calling create database at all? It's like asynchronously determines whether the physical database exists. No attempt is made to detect. So it's meant to run this. So if we do logger what's that point? I'm passing logger in there as a thing just because you can't move. Logger dot log information. Okay, so I'll start that again. So this is not a way I've done this in the past, right? I don't often let the application run the migrations, but this migration service concept is something kind of new to me. In Liquid Sky, I don't run migrations. I have scripts for everything because I don't want to mess around with okay, so that started. I don't want to mess around with creating database. What? Ensuring database exists. Ensuring database exists. We have a timing issue. Creating database, that errors, then fails. But then it still goes to apply migrations. So this piece here determines the migration should still check, but it tries to apply the migration anyway. It's like it's ignoring, or it's recreating the database every time. It's just erroring doing it. How do I? If I stop that, it stops everything, doesn't it? Everything goes away. So Friday, I finally got access to be able to write modification to our order system. It's freaking written in Business Basic. That's someone handed me an Apple II computer. Nice. Nice. So I started my career in Business Basic. Yeah. I mean, most basic languages are very similar, just depending on what platform. um, they're text-based systems normally. I don't know if I heard correctly, but it sounds like you individually have a create database and something that runs the migration. If there's no EF migration, whatever it's called, table, it'll run migrations from nothing, including creating the database. Yep. That's why I think it's wiping because of Aspire bringing everything up. I don't know whether the database exists before the migration runs. If we go here, I suppose I could try and see if I can intercept it. This is meant to run on startup, right? So that it tests to see if the database exists. So it says ensuring database exists, and it says no, and it creates a database. Then it runs the migrations, but the error message is between create async and apply migrations, which doesn't make sense, right? Because of where things lie. So okay, so we hit this breakpoint. If I open this now, do I see a database? Right, database doesn't exist, so it is creating the database from scratch every time, right? I mean, yeah, we can test it. Absolutely. So the database is being wiped out when it brings it down. That'll be fun for test data. Still getting stuck. Oh, at least we see the inserts now. Oh man, I've got multiples of these open. I mean, it looks that way. That looks fine, right? It's created the platforms, it's created the streamers. It's run the migration, but it's still getting stuck. At least it actually logged the fact that it did the queries this time. That's this wasn't logged previously. That's all. I just saw applying migrations and everything was there. Failed. An error occurred using a connection to the database developer stream. So all we're doing now is migrate, but it creates it, but an error occurs. To like, uh, uh, no, there's no ensure. Isn't ensure created the database thing? Just migrate async. If the ensure created before performing migration ran into an issue, then we skip to test if migration. Why would you think that? But that's not ensure. That's not doing ensure created. That's doing exists async. That's on the DB creator though. There's an actual service for creating the database. That's not ensure. That's not the same. So to do it that way, let's do that. So are you saying that? Ensure created is making sure the schema is there. From what I can read, from what I understand, it's making sure that if the database exists and has any tables, then no action is taken. Nothing is done to ensure the database schema is compatible. If the database exists but does not have any tables, then the entity framework model is used to create the database schema. If the database does not exist, then the database is created and the entity framework model is used to create the database schema. It is common to use ensure created immediately following ensure deleted when testing or prototyping. It does not use migrations to create the database. So this one is just for creating the schema layout based upon the models, not using migrations. So migrate is how to get it and run the migrations. Ensure created, just make sure the schema's there. So I could use here instead of this, I could just say await. And here I could just do await that and have the same result, essentially, is what they're saying. So if I run that now, yeah, but ensure created is not necessary after migration because migration will run and create. The problem is that it's throwing an error right as it goes to communicate with the database, and that I think that is tripping up the process so it won't end. Like I have to actually open the window for that to start up. That's impressive. Yep. Error. Oh, it started. Why did it start? Get off. Oh, because the migration finished. Different problem, but it did work. Interesting. Well, let's see what happens when I get this wired up properly. So this is because builder.services.add mediator wasn't there. I've found in the past that the migrations process is it can work okay in an existing schema. Let's see, because I don't know if that it should be wiping out the database every single time. So the ensure created, if you're right, then the ensure created should break the migration. But in this case, the migration is running. Right? It ran and finished. But it finished because ensure created. It threw an exception. Forget live streamers cannot consume scope service. Ah, joy. That's an interesting one. It is throwing. It's the fact that it's throwing an exception. I think I'm now making it work because I'm throwing the exception because the database exists already. So if we do this, it'll get stuck again. So the database is valid, but it errors working with it. And yeah, so the migration service should run. Waiting for resource Postgre to become healthy. So it runs. It errors. It creates the database, but never finishes. Spire. Wait for database connection to be healthy. Entrance is the first established. No, not the problem. How much you go? Hi, Dan. Like, maybe that's part of the problem from before. Hold on, that's good. Good. So, okay, so if we do that, so all this is meant to do is create the database, right? So the ensure database async is meant to create the database. I wonder if that's erroring. Hold on. Database execution strategy. Execution strategy. Execution strategy is not a disposable. Closure can be eliminated. Method has overload to avoid closure creation. I wonder if this strategy is the problem. Let's do this. Let's do this the normal way. Let's get rid of this strategy and do await DB context. Let's do it the traditional way. See if it changes it. I'm not saying the strategy is a problem. I'm saying I just don't understand how to use the strategy right this second because it's suggesting that there's a better overload of that might be more appropriate, and I'm not sure I've used that before, so I don't know the signatures. So what this is meant to do is Postgre. So the Aspire thing starts up. It starts up Postgre, however you pronounce it. Once that's established, the migration process waits on that and then should run. Once that's so. It knows that that's started, so it waits on it. It's meant to run through what it needs to do, end, and when that ends, the web starts, right? That's the way it's meant to flow. It looks like it runs everything. However, it hits this error, right? So if I go to the dashboard and I open up PostgreWeb. I pull this over here. Come on. Pull this over here. The database is there, and my tables are there with migrations running them, right? So there's a migration record in there. Everything looks fine like a migration ran, but it doesn't stop. It doesn't end this process at all. And again, the purpose of doing it this way, the purpose of using this method is so that we can check this in. People are able to check the project out, hit run, and have data there to play with and work with without actually having to do anything else, right? Right, so the migrations run and then the seeding runs. I wonder if it's the async seeding that's the problem. Shouldn't be. I mean, the DB provided script to migration the commands it runs are all create table without checking if the table exists. This is what leads me to believe that the migration would fail if tables exist in the database. Yeah, it was doing. You're right. You're right. If we run the database create for the ensure created before the migration, it will error. But that erroring actually at least allowed the web to start. So it ended this process. Yeah. Something is not letting this end. It's meant to do initialize DB context worker. So this is meant to execute and then get here. Finishing the job. Right. That's meant to terminate this process. I think something errors and leaves one of these hanging, which means it doesn't end. So even with outside the strategy, which I think is just a better manager for the connection as far as I understand it. Closure can be eliminated. Await strategy. Execute async. T-state. Oh, hold on. Is that going to be... Oh, that's not. That signature was not that. Hi, Marjo. Good morning. Cancellation, func cancellation token, task result, operation. Task. I don't get what. So we'll run to completion if the original task is, but logger, log information, migrations applied. So if we run this, once this is started up, this will start, and it'll start listing for Postgre to be apply migrations, but it doesn't exit. So we got apply migrations right here. So it got straight into here, right? We don't have the create date, but we have that commented out, right? So we got there, we hit an error, but we go ahead and create the database. We create the table if not create table, if not exists CF migrations. So it will patch that part. Even if the schema exists, it will patch that part. Then it goes to create tables. So if these tables exist, this will error you. You are 100% correct there. We create all the tables. We add all the constraints, foreign keys. Creating the indexes. We insert into the migrations history that we've done it. We then turn around and insert the test data. So the seed works fine. And then we call finishing the job. So we actually get all the way to here. So we get migrations applied. It does the migrations. It's run the seed. It gets to finishing the job and then just pauses. Seed is done. The migration is done. Everything's working. I think that error that it throws is leaving that thread hanging, and that stops it from. I think this fail here. What could that be on? I wonder if do it this way. Let's not make this too complicated. We don't need to do that. We don't need to create a new scope. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We don't need the context in that part. And we can go down here and remove the context there. And then we can do await using var db context equals await battery.create db context async. That leaves that living a very short time. Let's try that. I'm not sure why you would inject the service provider, then get a new scope, and then get a factory. This is all going away quickly anyway, so the scope is going to be relatively short-lived. Oh, still fails. Where is it failing? We get to finishing the job. An error occurred using the connection. No. No, there's an implicit transaction, but there's no actual transaction. I don't have a connection string. Yeah, the changes are being committed. Yes, the data is being committed to the database. We can actually go and look at the data in the database. It's not locked. The tables are accessible. I am not controlling the connection string. Aspire is controlling the connection string. So I have not turned. If Mars is turned on, it is not within my control right this second. based upon the example I am following. What I just did there was I moved the actual retrieval of the DB context to the closest possible thing. This service is not finishing. This service hits this line, but never ends this task. It should end almost immediately. And yeah, I know what to do. I know how to fix this. We don't do that. We do builder.services.add transient initialize DB worker. Then we do bar worker because of that, and then we do await worker dot execute async. Is it execute task? No, execute. Oh, because we don't have the ability to run a worker like that, do we? Start async. Why using Postgre and not SQL Server? Because Postgre is not behind any licensing and not any commercial licensing. It's a bit more widely used in terms of this. Also, this is going to be an open source project. I do not want to have people have to worry about SQL Server. Yeah. Why no? Where do I see that? Roger. I would have recommended to have Mars turned on, but that's odd. But Mars would be a different problem entirely. Mars would be I'd get an exception throwing up the this should error in a different way now. That's fine. That's okay. So where would I have learned about iHost application lifetime and what would that solve? Yeah, your name is not for short for multiple application result sets, multiple application result set. It calls stop application, but if the job's hanging, the task is failing, it can't call stop application. But where do I do that? Where do I put that? So I'm asking, where do you want me to do that? I do not know. Remember, Aspire. Like it might call stop application, but how does it stop the application? Well, that's coming. I will wait for so add scoped, add transient. Running that tab. Add transient. But that one works if it's got. That's funny. See. Thank you for the follow. I don't think the migration went through. I think this will error in a different way. Oh my goodness me. What is going wrong with this today? I have good taste doing stuff in C Sharp, but Mediator, my soul just died. Well, that's quite an entry. Why do you have an issue with Mediator? Happy to learn if you feel that that's a wrong thing to use. I'd like to know more. I don't like how they inject the service provider all the time. Why do they need to inject it? But they do explicitly call stop. That's impressive. Why is that necessary? I have no idea. I don't understand that. Sometimes I wonder if examples are put together just as a. They worked that once. Don't need to do a transaction there. We are fine. Strengthal, I would honestly love to learn why you have an issue with media. So yeah, it's personal preference. I just like it. I like simple A to B when debugging. However, media obscures that through the use of magic, for lack of a better term. It's worth knowing. I don't think it's wrong to use it. Yeah, I get the magic. I agree with the magic. I like the pattern. I like the design. I like the use of showing the intent rather than just calling handle with a new command. Do you use the overall pattern of creating a handler and just calling it, or do you actually just dump everything in services and call a method on a service? Mediator in this case is not Jimmy Bogart's mediator, by the way. It is a little bit more. It's a little simpler to understand because you can actually look at the mediator and just see all the bindings when you send command. Here's there, here's there. It's not using reflection. Mr. Anhorn, good morning. Hope you are well. Some services are not able to be constructed. Handler developers stream applet from Singleton. What? Why not have an option in this one? Why? Also, good news that worked, by the way. I forgot to, so thank you, Mojo, for that example. Awesome that we were, we follow one example, it doesn't work. We follow the second one, it works fine. I mean, yeah, we were following a Microsoft example, but does this need? Wow, that runs fast. Migration is running fine now. That's done. That's moved. But I'm not trying to inject. Get live stream. I'm not trying to inject that, am I? So we're setting up the streamer query service, which we inject a repository. I forget what I was using. I opened that many samples. I mean, the problem still lies that it's struggling to do the database, but I wonder if that stop is necessary because people had that sort of issue and just put the stop in there to make sure it actually finished when they thought it should. You don't know why, and I'm starting to think that it creates SQL DB context here as a scoped service. DB context pool. Scoping. It's complaining because the way that the mediator does do the handlers, they're not dynamically created. They're not created. They're created as singletons. Which actually brings up a good issue. Hold on. I didn't think they were singletons. Yeah, we have a scoping issue here. I know I don't fall foul of that, and I'm wondering if it's to do with the way that Postgre is configured. This is the first time using Postgre. So for those of you who are new to the stream, this is an application. So this is this is intended to be an open source application to help support developers who stream. I'm building out the structure of it, building out these things, which is again why I'm interested in learning. I want to understand people's different approaches. If you favor one approach over another, we can discuss it. It's always worth talking about that stuff because you can get so focused on a pattern or a solution that you just kind of use it instinctively. but there's other things available, other ways of doing it, and other considerations, and it's worth asking the questions. I want to make this an open source project, but then I want to take a fork of this, build this out, and actually post the actual site. How am I getting on with Aspire? So this is, again, an excuse to try and use Aspire. This will help, from a developer's perspective of people using .NET right now, Aspire is a big thing, Blazor is a thing. So this is a Blazor site with a Aspire host. For me, right now it feels kind of like I'll just handle all this, you don't worry about it. So the same concern you have over the media and magic thing, I have about Aspire right this second, and I'm trying to figure my way around there. But I'm trying to persevere. I'm trying to ensure I give it a fair shot and that I'm not jumping to conclusions over what's at fault. So the problem here may be I'm getting the wrong scope. This will be, yes. Hi, Carax. I want to get the structure established first, get the pieces in place, and get some kind of rules in there. But then I'll open it up to everybody. For reference, I am not a new developer. I'm not trying to do this out of some sort of um, like this is an older idea. I've been a developer for quite a while. I am. This is a side project, so Mondays and Fridays on the stream are this project right this second. The ultimate aim is a platform where you can go and find, hey, I want to look for C# developers, I want to look for game developers. You can filter through. Depends. Doesn't matter whether they're streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, etc. You'll be able to find them. The idea is that the streamers themselves will be able to register with the site. It's not a troll. It's not a crawl of any sort. It's not going to go and list every streamer. It will require community buy-in. Also provide a set of APIs so that from your stream, you're able to hook into the API. And if someone joins your stream, you can see, are they a streamer? Are they registered? Do they have some text that they want, that they like to describe themselves with? And, give some tools that you could actually help call out people and promote them in the way that's helpful to the rest of the community. Yeah, scoping issues in the web project. We're all in the web project right this second, right? The issue is one of the repository piece that I'm using, again, to try and keep that simpler, is injecting a context. That context, this repository is being injected into a mediator handler, which the mediator is being created as singleton, which I think is strange, which means you would get the same repository every time. And if that's true, that's suboptimal. But if you look at Mediator, you find Jimmy Bogart's library more than Martin's. So I'm using Martino Thamar or Martin Othamar. Martin Othamar version of Mediator here, which uses great minds, which uses code generation over reflection. I'm wondering though if he's working on version 3. It's been a few years on version 2. That can now be ALT'd. Hi, Phil Shamwell. Hi, Dan. What I was doing yesterday, it used a singleton and it crashed after adding EF. I changed the transit and it started working. Single DB context is not multi-thread, so yeah. I understand what the implication is. I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is in how I'm configuring it. So you started this in 2023. Does he have a branch for it? 3? He does not. Interesting. So let me get the error. Let me actually get the error because it might just be something simple. So I use this in Liquid Sky and I have no issues with this style. So Tuesday through Thursday on the stream, I work on a project that's named Liquid Sky right this second, and it's a project management and planning application. It's been in development for about 14 months. Features are starting to creep in there now. That application is just a desire to build something that I feel solves the problem of planning versus tracking of work. The intent with that is to make that some sort of product. So you know the ideas are very much. I share the streaming of it to show what a large application development looks like, and it is large. It's distributed. It's all the fun things. Even single media to message consumer will create a new repo for each message process. What? Use 005. 005 of what? Get live streams handler. Can I consume scope service application DB contacts from singleton? I've got a feeling I know how to solve this one. So normally I register a connection pool. So what I've done is in the past I've said builder dot services dot add transient. This is how I solve this. Application DB context, and then I've done provider. Yeah, required service. DB context factory. Application DB context. The problem with that is, will that work? Let's find out. These post in Discord, what I use 005 of in Liquid Sky. I don't think that's going to fix anything right in a second. No, the problem is here that the PostgreSQL is configuring the connection. I don't have control of it. And when there you go. So by default, it'll give me a scoped instance of application DB context when I ask for one. What I've done there is I've just intercepted that and said, if I ask for an application DB context, go to the connection factory and give me a connection. It should still function because the dispose should work fine. Everything else should work fine. But now I'm kind of wondering whether that's going to leak a connection. that behavior. Because what's the lifetime of that then if they're singletons? How does that work? It's even better to set up usage of pool DB contents factory. It shouldn't. It's very common in WASM. Yeah, assuming I'm on WASM versus, yeah. Right now, this is, yeah, okay. Blazor, not WASM. I know it's a common pattern in Blazor. It's just like, yeah, correct. I use pool DB contents factory when I'm using SQL Server on the other side. This extension method for Postgre takes away a lot of that control for me. Internally, it looks like it is configuring a factory, a context pool. So it is pooling them anyway. My concern is what does enrich do? Yeah. Either way, it seems like it's working. So let's move forward. And again, if you have more expertise with Postgre in this world, then you're more than welcome to post issues. Your expected traffic shouldn't be a major issue as well. Then we can all learn, right? That's the point of an open source library. Is that although I do have experience, I don't know everything. I'm human, and it's important to always remember that I'm not infallible. So basically, if we go here, everything should have worked. We should have streamers. Not you, it's Blazor. So yeah. So if you have resources, if you have things, you are more than welcome to share them during the stream. There is a Discord linked in the cards below, so if you want to talk about this stuff off stream, if you want to share anything regarding it off stream, you're more than welcome to. This route, I'm not going to accept any PRs at this point because the project is still early enough that I don't want to have everyone's opinions. Because again, just from this stream, right, we've seen there's different approaches, and if I open it too soon, then it won't have time to become a usable code base because everyone will want to pull their opinions into it. And as much as I want the contributions, it's important that I set the baseline so that I can maintain the project. Postgre also does internal connection management for .NET, but if you're getting large amounts of traffic, Postgre is a connection pool or load balance you install and use that for connection management. Nice. That's good to know. Thank you, Mr. Arhon. So you can get access to this repository here. You're more than welcome to download it. I will push, everything's on initial build right this second. I will push any changes. Actually, we probably should push at this point before we make any more changes. Let's make these separate commits. Make migrations function. Disable ensure created component initialize. So yeah, if you have thoughts, opinions, questions, please feel free. We get better through discussion. We get better through testing our own opinions and thoughts. Disable ensure created component initialize. Migration service job. Introduce I host application lifetime to provide stop. This job was not finishing Okay, did that. That's just formatting. Realized my SQL Docker container kept shutting down because I didn't have enough memory. Ah, yes, that is the challenge we will continually face with Liquid Sky, with the amount of services and stuff. That's going to be challenging. I take it for granted, right? That things just work. So, although this application is a more traditional web with the backend application, the Liquid Sky application is a distributed application, uses a lot of different technologies. We got some RabbitMQ, we got some Kafka, we got some Redis, we got some Akka, we got some GraphQL. It's a collection at this point. I remember those days. That's when I finally moved to 64 gig RAM. Yeah, I upgraded this machine over the weekend, so we now have a better processor. So we've got 16 cores, and we're now at the 128 gig before. So now I'm about as good as this machine can get. So 128 gig of memory in a 5950X should last for a little while. So a capable machine. Configure transient DB context for the purpose of working with the singleton scope. Those depending on what machine. Yeah, I figured it was worth just splurging a little bit on the CPU, getting that up to spec, and then the machine can last for a while longer. Remember when someone said 640K should be enough for everybody? Still would be if it wasn't for Chrome. My solution will be running tomorrow. Yeah. Well, I want to do the same so that we can validate that running them remotely is perfectly fine. I mean, it should be a connection string thing, but what we might do is replace all the connection strings with aliases so we can commit them in. And then the idea is if you're running them locally or running them remotely, you just kind of alias the machine IP in the host file. Configure transient DB context for the purpose of working with singleton scope handlers of mediator. So Postgre, so entity framework. That's a little bit more configurable, but ultimately the same solution. Just create a context, get a context factory, and give me a context. So it should still work. The scoping should be fine. We'll know when we start to run some metrics and look at the stats, because Aspire will give us those things, right? Okay, so let's get this. So I guess the next thing is to make sure that we are components. So the streamer card is one thing, but where would we put the panel? So the streamer card is great. Right. I stream a query, but that's not going to actually take a streamer query. That's going to take a streamer because we want to have the layout. So let's go here. Let's run it. So in my normal application, I'm using Angular. I'm using the .NET backend. I'm not using SSR or anything like that in Angular. I'm just using plain old Angular for the purpose of layout. So a lot of these, what's the word, paradigms, a lot of these things are going to be new to me. I'm going to have to figure my way through how to organize the components. And again, this is why I want to do this. I want to lay this out as a kind of a pattern that I can follow, because if I can't follow it, I can't review PRs effectively, which means PRs are going to take longer to pull. And if people are interested in joining in, that's not fair, because your work will be ignored for, or seemingly ignored for longer. So I want to make sure I understand the structure. I want to understand the design. So the concept here is we have a search bar. We'll be able to search on these things. The panels will represent the streamers, right? So this is the streamer card. Right now, this is built out. We're using those streamer cards. It's just repetitive. So what we're going to do is, actually, they don't need to be parameters. I can pass in the streamer, kind of. I think we need something that takes this, and we'll put the search service attached to that afterwards. But for right now, we need something that lays out this screen, right? I assume that's another component. Because we wouldn't want to put that. So in the app right this second, in the page, in the home, we have this. So essentially what we need is this as a component. So let's go here to components. And then I'm going to do layout for right this second. Streamer cards. That seems like a common pattern. No, I want to raise a page. I want to raise a component. Add Blazor component. Raise a component with a code behind. Whoa. Streamer cards with code behind with scope CSS. Let's go with that. Let's see what it does. Nothing's permanent. Everything can be replaced. Everything can be played with. So in here, we're going to post that. Right, I don't think this is going to necessarily be working, but yeah, so that's not. Oh, it is. So we go here. I'm going to do streamer cards. I didn't think it was that good. Yeah. Changing components, making it rebuild things. I can kind of see why that would take time. Correct. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. I do appreciate the input and the attempts to aid me in help so far today. This is why I do this. You know, I'm not doing this to say, hey, I know everything. I'm doing this because I want to share the fact that I'm learning as well, and that we can, you know, tinker with this technology. This is something that is becoming more popular in the .NET world, and this, if I can keep this in a decent shape, then, you know, it helps people learn and grow from them. That's awesome. Okay, so those are the cards back, right? So we know that those are now in the streamer cards component. That's fine. So let's go here and let's inject iStreamer query. And then here's where it gets fun. Protected on initialized async. Let's try that first. And then let's create private INumerable. So I stream a query, returns a list of streamer DTOs, which is ID, name, and blurb, right? For right this second. So we have a list of streamer DTOs. We'll piece these in afterwards. Streamers, right? And now we're going to do async. For those that do know, on initialized async, is there anything in the base to actually worry about? I know it's good practice to oftentimes call the base anyway. Is there any need to do it in this case? Does it do anything important? There isn't anything. Okay, so I don't have to worry about that one. Okay. So we're going to get the list of streamers. Is there an override that injects cancellation token? Or is that something that we don't need? Okay, that's going to stop anyway. So, okay. Let's not worry about that right a second. Is that going to become a thing for Blazor? Configure await. I don't know. We looked at that on Friday. None of the lifecycle methods have method bodies other than the return task that complete that. Okay, so they're just there to make sure you can stub them out. Okay. And that they can always be called. That's so that they can be called by the pipeline and never fail if you don't override them. Okay, that's just the pattern. Okay. So we have this. Now what we do, so this is going to be fun. And by fun, I mean nails down a chalkboard. Painful for me because it's going to be, let's play around with lining up columns and stuff in because you don't know how many panels we have. So I can't do this lovely row G3, P3 stuff. So I'm going to have to take all that out. Let's do for each var streamer in streamers. And we're going to do, so here, I think I actually want to change the streamer card implementation to not take an iQuery. I think this takes a streamer DTO. Is this the right way to do it? Because you don't create it. Streamer. Time to talk to Mr. Claude, GBT, and let them do the HTML and CSS for you. So we remove this, right? Because we don't need everything there. We set the streamer, and now the streamer card themselves is going to be live for right this second. Streamer dot name, streamer dot blurb, and we'll worry about badges later. That comes afterwards. Anyone know free VectorDB with good C# support? Also for commercial use? Not my world of late. I've not really got into that piece. So I'm afraid I'm unable to help. But let's see if this runs. Actually, Aaron. Oh. Cannot initialize. Oh, because I didn't do the right thing. remove this. I don't know about chroma. So streamer card. Stream equals streamer. There we go. Is that actually the right way in? Oh no, there you go. I went into angular mode there. Put my square braces. Yeah, I haven't really looked at vector DBs because I haven't really got into the AI piece very much. Most DB support vector data. I found Postgre to be a good starting point. Now, what's from an education perspective, what makes a vector DB so? Is that's it's useful for AI for context because it's quick to access the context again, or is that the only thing it's storing, or is there something more involved to that? Oh no. No service for type IDB context factory has been registered. So it worked because it failed. What? Come on. Oh, scree. Configure DB contents factory. Good at searching numbers. Gotcha. But all I know is if I want to set up my RAG, I need a vector DB to put that in data in. It's not that simple. We don't want to do this. We need DB. I don't interface direct with the DB, always through a client. So you just configure, hey, you've got this storage. Nice. Oh, that means. I think I have one of these anyway. Sorry, I'm looking. I got a. So I have a. It's not a connection issue. It's a configuration issue. DB context factory is not available in here because this Postgre does not add a factory. Add. Yeah, it doesn't add a factory of any form. There's no configuration method in here that I know of. Oh, there is. Hold on. Configure dot. Oh, hold on. Builder. How do I set this up? Ugh. Options dot. Oh. Using PGSQL. I wonder if I can do it the other way. From my understanding, I can be wrong. It can store unrated vectorized data, which then AI can search with word similarities based on means of words. Definitely understand what you're looking for, kind of. I said your name again the weird way, but I don't have experience with it either. I'm sure you've done some search on the web, so anything page, right? That said, Pinecone and Weaviate came up as the top response, which probably means sponsored. Okay, I'm going to try and do this a different way. Builder, add old DB context factory. I think that might be a entity framework, SQL entity framework can design. So this is an interesting problem because I get to learn a little bit more about. So it doesn't look like Postgres supports that pool DB context factory, but it does have a DB context. So we do that. It does have a context pool. So can I use the yeah. Dot. That's interesting. So let's do this. Let's go into here. Let's do. How can we do this and still make this work? Yeah, I have the entity framework NuGet. For the DB pool context factory is a SQL server. It wasn't Cian Horn that asked the original question. Sorry about that. Mr. Van Horn provided the most information on it. So we have a pool. I've not used the pool in that way. So what I'm thinking of is modifying. So the only reason I need the application factory is because I get a context. And this context is when I get the repository, it's going into that singleton handler. So it's a scoping issue right down the line. I need something that will give me a connection when I ask for one, right? It doesn't matter whether it's a pool, whether it's a whatever it is. So a connection factory or a pool, sorry, that's what I meant. Why? So if I could modify this, then everything will work fine. But I don't know how to pass that context straight down there. Because if that was an IDB context pool of application DB context pool, right? Yeah, you can't do that. An internal API that supports it. Yeah, okay. So I can't. Can I do that? No, it's an internal component. Okay, so it's not something I can get. DB Context Factory comes with. Hold on. You may be right. But it's got Entity Framework call by implicit, but yeah, I don't have DB Context Factory available because that's a SQL Server piece, is what that looks like. Unless you're saying it's available in Postgre. So that's all that. Let's go for a method. Oh, hold on. Problem is, it's not. Not an option. I'm pretty sure it's a SQL Server extension. That's what I was trying to validate then. Why is this? Why is this? So I gave some advice yesterday that was like, once you've decided upon a design, don't go all in to make sure that that is the design that works if there is actually a better option. So what I've got to figure out here is I'm using Postgre because Postgre is a bit more available. People can, the open source, nature of this project means I don't want to tie it to SQL Server. With Postgre, what is the alternative to doing this? Because Postgre does not seem to have a connection factory. I cannot find any reference to a connection factory for Postgre. What is my alternative? That's what I've got to figure out, and I've got to make sure I'm not just going full bore at the problem. Now, you are right. DB Context Factory should appear in EF Core extensions. So it's in EF Core. You're not wrong. I don't know why that's not showing, unless it's something that's yeah, entity framework. Let's do this. Let's do that. Builder.services add DB con. Add. I'm an idiot. I'm just getting stuck on the wrong things. You're right. factory goes to configure. There we go. That's better. Configure use npg SQL. That'll take a connection string. Options goes to options dot. Oh, I was going to say that's. So is that going to take configuration dot get builder dot configuration dot get connection string developers dot stream. Okay, so does this now work is the question. Did I removed the stuff, didn't I? Builder.services to add transient. I still think that's necessary. I think it's still going to error. So let's do it with that way. Now, the next question is this the right way to configure Postgre? Is this better for Postgres because Postgres, whatever we want to say, because it configures things that are defaults in that environment. So this could hold us back in a different way. So yeah, can I combine the two? I don't know. It's a balance, right? We've got to figure out where that balance lies. Like, do I spend what I mean from a balance perspective there is, do I spend a lot of time now navigating down trying to figure out how to make this work with the DB context factory? Do I go off and figure out what Postgre needs? Singleton implement, so it's the same problem and I can solve it in the same way. Should I is another question. Is it so what I'm doing here is I'm going to say application DB context. So when you ask for one of these, we go to the provider, we go provider.get required service of IDB context factory application DB context dot create DB context, right? So do we do that to move on and then go back and learn? Is it going to cost us? We don't know, right? We don't know if that's going to bite us later when we open it up and have 5 people join and log in. Does it all collapse on itself? Does it give them the same data? Does it do all sorts of other stuff, right? I don't know. We'll have to find out how it behaves. Yeah, there's when we're dealing with so many frameworks, there's a lot of stuff. And to Sven's point earlier on, right? There's a lot of magic. You know, well, it didn't error. It didn't work, but it didn't error. And I'm using the server side, so okay. I mean, we could consider it a victory. Like, it's not failing. Let's see where it gets to. App settings, maybe since you did it this way. Or do you think that's an extension for Aspire? But shouldn't it give me a connection? Wouldn't it have errored? Right. So if we go to streamer query, go to our application queries, get live streamers. Let's go here. Apps, maybe since you did it this way, something about declaring the variable. I think it should have errored. I'm hoping it hits that breakpoint. Full screen Aspire barriers to entry for me. Right. Okay, so we do have a repository. We have a context. Our context is valid. And our query executes and returns 0. Because I because I do an aware that includes things that don't get included. So Streamer has channels, and I'm saying where there's channels. So it's actually doing the right thing. It was excluding because it's called live streamer spec, right? So I built it to be the live streamer spec, not the not streaming right now spec. So what we'll do is we'll test this works, and then we'll do all streamers because we haven't got the concept of live yet, right? Now, from what I understand, Aspire should give that connection string, like you've said before, right? It should kind of create that app settings at the shared level, so that there's like a variable available to me, so I can refer to the same thing because Aspire's configured it. That's my understanding of it. So I don't have to specify it on each application. So if we have 10 again, I did hit F10 then, right? Oh, there we go. It's worked. I must have hit F5. And it actually does. I did make it exist in a blank value, yeah. So one line, coming back on your point. So I'm curious to know if you switch out the DB provider to at least another relational DB with the direction you're going. Postgre and Aspire are barriers to entry for me. So I don't think it would be difficult. I think with a little bit of organization, we could do. The challenge always comes when you start switching out database technology. The database technologies, your queries don't work the same. Now, the reason I'm using the specs. So one of the things I've had great success with in Liquid Sky is with the specs. These specs. So let's name this all streamers spec. Right. The beauty of these is they're all link based. It tightens that up, so it doesn't matter what database you're using. I'd be interested in your thoughts as to how you would go about that. Maybe if you have a few minutes in Discord, you could type up some ideas as to how you think that would work. But off the top of my head, I think I know how I would solve it. It would be a little bit more complicated in terms of libraries. It would involve kind of putting the pieces that are here, right, in a library of some form and configuring them based upon, a build setting or something. So you pull in the library that you want for, so we'd have a Postgre and a SQL Server version. That would allow you to run the application and would default to Postgre or something like that, maybe. So maybe we'd have like a different, like a developers.stream.startup.sql server, startup.postgre. It could still work in the app host. You could kind of build that way. Put the extension pieces for the applications and for the app host in the same library, maybe. So you could switch it out, and then if you wanted to use SQL Server, you could do. If you wanted to use Postgre, you could do, and extend that to MySQL or something. It certainly could be possible with a bit of work. My fear would be making it messier and harder to understand and harder to work with. But if you have opinions or ideas on how to do that, you're more than welcome. Don't forget, you can run this without Aspire. Aspire is helping, but you can actually set it to just run the web. You just have to set the connection string. Which does remind me, we're gonna have to get into app settings development isn't committed. You could probably use that. I think that's picked up still. But yeah, that's some of that. Yeah, that's why I'm trying it. I'm not to Strength's point earlier on. For me, Aspire has a lot of magic and a lot of stuff it's kind of just doing, and it leaves me questioning. I still don't think that it is made for the deployment. I think it's made for a smoother development experience. So you can just check out things and have them run, and you can also then monitor them and watch them. I think it gets you into the mindset of monitoring and alerting sooner, which is good all out. I mean, I really want to put open telemetry in here and get those pieces in there pretty soon. But yeah, I'm yeah. So if we go here, refresh that. Like, I like the dashboard thing. I like the ability to see things. I like the structured logging concepts. I like the fact that we can put traces in there on the requests. Ultimately, we can get metrics and stuff, etc. in there. That's nice. Right. So the actual EF code in the, I don't remember what you call the project for all of your server-side logic, will be the same since it's already abstracted away in the UI. But I'd struggle with needing to find out how to get Postgres running in my dev environment instead of using, for example, the built-in. Well, the problem with Aspire is it's heavily reliant on Docker, right? So it's using virtualization to configure. So you need to have Docker to be able to start the project. That is the one downside, or a downside, not the one downside. That is a downside to this approach. It can't use a database that exists in its current form. But that's why I'm setting this up, right? I'm setting this up because if we get this configured, then if people want to contribute that sort of stuff, if they want to talk about that sort of stuff, we can have the discussion. They can contribute the solutions. We can discuss whether they get merged into the repo. But the not problem is that you would only need Docker, and hitting F5 should work. So that find out how isn't on you. But yeah. So yeah. Let's go here. Let's go here. Streamers. Can I not use this to... Oh, you give me this nice UI. Find out how to Docker on Windows, which is probably just an install, but still something not already in my knowledge base. Gotcha. So you don't use any virtualization stuff as you build. So the thing I like about having Docker installed, like this is Liquid Sky stuff, right? But I have scripts to drop all this. And see, these are the Postgre databases. I have scripts to drop all this and bring this all up. So the idea being that what I do is, if I'm switching projects, I bring everything down for Liquid Sky and I bring everything up for the other projects so that I have the databases and stuff isolated. I don't have to worry about, oh, that data's in that database and this data's in that database and oh no, now I've got a mess. I kind of isolate for my project. So everything doesn't overlap. Does take a little bit of work, but yeah. Oh, I say ads, but I just looked at the time. Let's see if we can get this insert into streamers, name, blurb, values. Oh, can he? So we run that, insert into. What? How do I not have streamers? Streamers does not exist, huh? I beg to differ. Streamers table. Actually, it doesn't matter. All you need to do to get the possibly missing NPG sequel pieces in there is enrich the slightly related. What's the difference between add DB contents pool and add pool DB contents factory? Which did you need? I use pool DB contents factory so that I have the benefit of the pool and I have a factory that will give me a connection when I ask for it. So I can just generate the connection. So it doesn't matter. I need enrich NPG SQL DB contents. Okay, so I can just do that afterwards. Okay, we'll look at that afterwards. Oof. Is this a problem with my SQL Server style insert statement? PG SQL. Insert into card. Nope, it's pretty much standard SQL. Peak relation streamers does not exist. Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll look at that next time. Okay. Apart from me not knowing how to write a query in here, which is not really a big challenge right this second, we have an application up and running, right? We are able to query this. If you are interested, you're more than welcome to go and check out this and see if you can get it to run. Obviously, this is all it does right now. It seeds a database with 3 streamers, and that's it. But what we do have is we have the database being created and seeded. We have the application starting up and the web client running. So let's go and let's make these separate commits. I'll just remove that for right this second. Let's remove that. Let's remove that. So let's remove that. Configure PD. Post, yes. While ads run, I'll get this committed. Let's do this. Move streamer card component out. Move streamer cards. Create streamer cards component for displaying streamer cards. Obviously, I've got to lay that out and do all that sort of stuff, but we'll have to pick our battles a little bit. Create streamer cards component for displaying streamer cards, and set streamer DTO into display. But now, commit. The handler to call all streamers spec, retrieve streamers, commit and push. So we're going to push this up. So if you are interested, you are more than welcome to check it out. It is available on TBD Friends. Again, I don't want to accept PRs at this point. I want to get this in a good place so that we can kind of document the standards for, get these things laid out a little bit better. I'm hoping that you watching will help hold me to some sort of standard there, because obviously I'm motivated to kind of get this moving, and it's easy to blow past things, right? I am like every developer that I have known, you have those moments of great discipline, and then the moments of like just get it working, get it moving. So, and especially in this case. So next time on Friday, yes, no problems, Friday, we'll get the layout working, we'll get the ability to maybe sign up started. We'll start building some more components. Maybe we'll test this piece on Friday. We'll get the web client version of this working, and if one line's around, maybe get a bit of assistance there. Make sure we understand what it means. So as far as I understand it so far, basically what I want to do is I want to embed a similar page over here and use the components in there for validating that the APIs work. So we'll get that working. DRX Vinay, hello, how you doing? But we're making progress, right? We have got it running. If you are interested in talking more about this, if you want to ask more questions, if you are you have opinions on how it's done and the technologies in play, please feel free to join in the conversation. And yes. So unfortunately, I have a day job. They kind of keep the food in the belly and the roof above my head by paying me to do this for a living. And yeah. So again, some progress. Tomorrow we will continue with Liquid Sky. Liquid Sky has got a few more features since it was last shown. Thank you very much for the follow, Mosaic. The application there is coming along a lot. We've got a lot of permission stuff in there. We've got a lot of editing stuff working. I'm starting to build more and more features in there. We're working on subscriptions piece. Mojo's been working hard on getting the ability for our backend piece to manage a subscription to the platform. So tomorrow we'll resume with Liquid Sky development. And then Mondays and Fridays are going to be developers.stream. So Blazor, Aspire, and Postgre right now. But we'll get there, lots of different technologies. With that, let's go and raid Mr. Box. I think it's Fullbox's turn. I don't have a big pool of streamers to raid into these days because I don't watch many straight after the stream. So I apologize for that. It is Monday. Don't forget. One Lion streams Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. He's streaming his work stuff on Mondays and Wednesdays, and it is a fascinating and interesting set of technology. He's using Blazor. He's using different technologies. He's working with a lot more realistic code. And he's a fantastic developer. So well worth going hanging out with him. Trap, good morning. Hope you are well. But let's go, Ray Fullbots. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Have a great rest of your day all. Bye.